Just say, hello, my name is.
Hello, my name is David McDowell Thomason.
Where and when were you born?
I was born in Fountain Inn, South Carolina.
So, how old. When?
1925, October 27th, 1925.
So, how old are you right now?
92 years old.
Do you feel like you're 92?
No, I don't. But, some days you may feel a little bit like it, but most days I get to move around and enjoy life.
Physically, talk to me about what it's like to be 92.
Well, I think it's wonderful that, my wife said it's breakfast time, and I get up and eat a good breakfast every morning. Then I go out to the mailbox and get my newspaper, read the newspaper, listen to the news, and then I get shaved up, get my clothes on, walk around in the yards, and do some yard work, and things like that. Staying busy at this age in life and walking some every day is wonderful. For the past 39 years, I have tried to walk at least 2 miles every day.
What branch of the service were you in during World War II?
I was in the U.S. Navy.
And what ship were you assigned to?
I was assigned to the USS Abilene, destroyer 733.
And what happened to that ship?
That ship was sunk on April the 12th, about 3 o'clock one afternoon in the East China Sea. We lost 84 shipmates that afternoon, but I myself was not injured.
And what was your specific role on the ship?
Well, after you get in the war zone, most of the time is spent in your battle zones, and other than that, just taking care of everything, helping take care of the guns where I was assigned, and things like that. Just keeping the ship neat and clean.
So, what was your general quarters station?
I was in gun mount number 2, and there were 9 men in that gun mount to operate those 2 guns, and I was the fuse setter on the shell.
Meaning what?
As the shells came up the shaft, I was sitting there with a machine. If we were firing at a airplane that was 5 miles away, I might have to have it set for 2.5 seconds or whatever. But I had to keep it set so when it got close to the plane, it would explode.
And talk to me about what it was like inside the gun mount. What did it look like?
Well, with 9 men in it, it was very crowded. We had very little room in that gun mount. And a lot of times, well, I don't know how many days, but a lot of times, if we were in battle, sometimes we wouldn't leave that gun mount except to get a little sleep and something to eat for 2 or 3 days. And we would just have to fall down in that gun mount, steel floors and everything, with 9 men trying to get some nap and sleep. It was tough.
What was the highest rank you achieved?
Seaman first class.
And after your ship was sunk, how long were you in the water?
I was probably 4 hours. I was in the water.
And after you were rescued, what did you do for the rest of the war?
Well, after our ship was sunk, they carried us back to Okinawa. We were 75 off the coast of Okinawa the day we were sunk. And they put us on a ship that had come from America with all types of everything from food to ammunition. And that ship was empty, and it was getting ready to turn around and come back to America. And we people who survived, they put us on that ship. And it took us well over a month to get back to even to Hawaii on that old ship. It was an old vessel. And one time along about the international date line, we would never forget that, the motors on that ship quit working, and we drifted for 3 days. So it took. And by the way, when our ship was sunk, I want to tell this that the captain of the ship that picked us up when we got on board of the ship on the top deck, he told us, "Men, you are filthy with oil that leaked out of your ship. Your clothes are a general mess. You will have to take them off and throw them in the ocean." There was 300 noon sailors standing on the top deck of that ship. And I thought, how are we going to get clothes? Well, the men on that ship, one of the men about my size, came up to me and said, "If you would like some clothes, come go to my locker, and I'll give you one white T-shirt, one pair of underwear, and one pair of pants, and a pair of socks." And that's all I had for about a month. All I had as clothes. Until I got back to Hawaii, and then they issued all of us a new sea bag of clothes.
Did you get survivor's leave?
Did they do what?
Did you get survivor's leave?
Yes. Yeah, we got 30-day survivor's leave. And we got to come home from California. Oh, by the way, our ship, we got to Hawaii, and then we stayed there, and they gave us new clothes, and we spent a few days in San Francisco. And then they put us on another ship to bring us to San Francisco. Now, you're thinking about a beautiful day. Is when a group of men got excited, is one morning early, as we got out on the top deck of that ship they put us on in Hawaii, we could see the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. Now, that was a wonderful and wonderful day because we were back to America. And then they got to come on all the way. We stayed in California a few days. They turned us loose for our 30-day survivor's leave. We got to come home for 30 days. And then after that, all of us were assigned somewhere else. I was first assigned to the base in Charleston, South Carolina. I said, maybe they're going to let me stay close home. But, the military don't do that too good. So they, one afternoon while I was in Charleston after a week or two, a man came by and said, "Thomason, get your bags packed. We're going to pick you up at 3 o'clock. We're taking you to Charleston and putting you on a train to go to California." So it took a few days, but I arrived in Oakland, California. And then I called the base where I was to go. And 7 miles above Oakland, California, there was a naval base at Berkeley, California. And that's where I spent my last 8 months. And it was a beautiful place and good duty. And every morning to get out and go into breakfast is walking right up beside San Francisco Bay. You can see the Golden Gate Bridge, the Oakland Bay Bridge. You can see Alcatraz, and you can see San Francisco. Saw that every day for 8 months. It was wonderful.
So I want to backtrack a little bit. You said you were born in South Carolina.
Yes, I was.
Where did you grow up?
Well, I grew up about 2 miles out of the little town of Fountain Inn, South Carolina, on a farm with 4 brothers and Mom and Dad. We grew everything we ate. Back 90 years ago, if we had to go to the grocery store to get anything, we only had to go get sugar or coffee or tea or something like that. Everything else, we grew everything we ate. But our family had to work. It was a pretty difficult life. We'd get up and have to go to school. And we did have school buses back in those days. And Ford Motor Company made all the school buses at that time. And at that time, not many people know it, but school buses were all blue. And I do not know when they decided they didn't want school buses to be blue, so they made them all yellow.
Do you prefer a certain color for the bus?
Well, I think the yellow's great because you can see it better. And I rode a school bus all those years. after getting up, milking cows and eating breakfast, getting dressed, going to school, ride a bus back home, change clothes, get in your work clothes, and get in the fields, whatever had to be done.
Did any of your brothers go overseas?
Yes, two of them. My brother Doug went over to fight against Germany, and my brother Joe was in the Navy in the Pacific. He was flying in a dive bomber and bombed all the islands that we had to come along and take, like Saipan, Guam, Iwo Jima, and all the others.
Did they both see combat?
Yes. Yes. Oh, both of them saw a lot of combat.
Are either of them alive?
No, they've been passed away several years ago.
You're the last one left?
Yes, I'm the last one in my family.
Were you the youngest?
No, I had one brother younger than me, but he died early with a heart attack. So he didn't get to go to World War.
Talk to me about the struggles of growing up during the Great Depression.
Well, I born in 1925, and we know that in 1929, the banks failed. Almost everything else failed. And it was a difficult time because there was very little money. And I remember one day, my dad had enough money to buy another mule. We needed 3 mules instead of 2. And we went to Fountain Inn to the bank, and it was closed. But people during that time was bringing anything they had to give to the bank for their debts. And somebody had brought a nice young mule. And my dad said, we want to buy that mule. Now, what he paid for that mule? Probably $10, though. But as I say, and that was a big $10. But it was difficult going through those years. And not only that, my dad, some way, somehow, said we need a farm of our own. We want our own farm. Some way, somehow, in 1932, he borrowed enough money to buy a 150-acre farm. And that's where we farmed and grew up. So we spent those years of the Depression farming. Very little money, but we had plenty to eat. We never had to go hungry. I'm sure some people did, but some of these people lived on the farm in those days. So we had plenty to eat, you know.
So talk to me about what kind of farm it was.
This was a farm that we grew everything we ate. Even we had to plant enough wheat so we could gather it and have enough flour for a year. We had to plant enough corn to give us some bread. And we had to grow enough corn to feed the animals and give us corn for the year ourselves. And our money crop was the cotton crop. Our money crop was cotton. And some years, the cotton crop, if we had a good year and the price of cotton was good, we'd make enough money to sort of keep us going through the year. We had to save it and spend very little to make it last us a year. Life was slow and difficult back in those days. But I know one thing. It taught us how to work, and it taught us how to work, and it taught us that you needed to work, and whatever you was doing, do it right the first time. You didn't need any time to have to do things over.
Talk to me about what you and your buddies would do for fun when you were a teenager.
Oh, well, finally, there were several boys in the neighborhood. We always, in the woods around where we lived, we always had us a camp where we would go and spend the night, and our mothers would fix us something to eat, or we would cook it ourselves. All the boys in the community, we had us a good camp and places to spend the night, and most of us had bicycles, and we rode our bicycles a lot, especially like on Sunday. You know, we didn't farm, we didn't work on Sunday, went to church, but then the rest of the day. And sometimes some of my buddies and I, we were about 18 miles from Greenville, and on Sunday afternoon, very little or no traffic. There was so little traffic back in those. We could ride our bicycles to Greenville on Sunday afternoon, and just have fun doing it and coming back home. That was some of the things we did for fun. But other than that, all of us had to work most of the time.
What kind of mischief did you and your buddies get into?
Tried to stay out of them. Well, sometimes some of the neighbors might say, "Well, David and some of the other boys are bothering my daughters," and we sometimes got in trouble doing things like that.
Did you ever knock any outhouses down?
No, I didn't, but I wish I had. But we had outhouses ourselves. I guess I must have been 15 years old when we got rid of the outhouse.
Can you talk to me about life with an outhouse?
Well, you take, in my family, there was 7 of us. Now, every morning when we got up, Mom would be cooking coffee, and we'd be taking care of the animals and all. But when 7 people had to go to what I call a 2-hole outhouse, it got a little bit crowded, and but I went to 2-hole outhouse probably until I was 15 years old. But I know a lot about them, remember them, Ronald, but I don't see any more outhouses. Probably some places in the world they still have to have them. But I was glad when we did not have to have, and we had a restroom built into our home.
But with outhouses, where did all the sewage go?
It just went top of the ground and washed away when it rained. But a lot of it remained under the outhouse.
It's not like you had to empty it or something.
No, you never did. It was just, most of it was under the outhouse. And you talking about dangerous, but we survived it, Some way we all survived, such as that.
My understanding is back then, during Halloween, some of the guys would get together and you guys would pull pranks. Did you ever do that?
Well, not too much, no.
You never soaped no windows?
Well, I don't think I did. But we might try to scare some old people, knocking on the doors and then running and, just like boys will do. And we'd get pretty active on Halloween. But living way out in the country like I did, a lot of times you didn't get into a town or city.
Did you go steady with anyone growing up?
Did I what?
Go steady or date when you were growing
up? No. We all studied at home.
Go steady?
Oh, go steady? Oh, I didn't start going steady until probably I was way up in high school.
Back then, what kind of things would teenagers do for dates?
Well, if you had a car, you were lucky. And if you did, we would sometimes get in our car, and if I had a date, we could drive to Greenville and see a movie. Other than that, just drive out to come somewhere park and have some love-ins. Oh, yes. That was steady.
Was there like a lover's point or something?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we had certain places we go,
Like what?
Well, we knew where some roads were where there'd be no police coming by, and you were safe and secure right there where you date. And, just have a good time.
What did you want to do with your life before the war broke out?
Well, anything I knew what to do is farm. It's all I knew what to do. But we learned so many things on the farm. How to repair things, when to do things, how to do things, and take care of all the animals. This was important for us. And Dad made sure that we 5 boys did it right and took care of us to do all of these things right. Just take care of things.
But what did you plan on doing with your life? Before the war broke out, what did you plan on doing?
I didn't plan anything but try to finish high school and probably just go to work, still on the farm. And if World War II hadn't come along, I don't know how much longer I would have stayed on the farm. But see, after World War II, when I came back home, I worked a little while again on the farm, But I told my dad, I said, Dad, you know, I'm the only one at home now. The other boys are gone. We need to sell this farm. Sell it and let's move into Fountain Inn. And we did. And then I did everything from work at filling stations to whatever, you know.
How did you hear about the attack on Pearl Harbor?
We did have a radio in our home. And on Sunday morning, before we were getting ready to go to church, we heard this announcement on the radio.
What was that like to hear your country had been attacked?
Well, it almost froze you. And then, you know, being our age and where we were, now my brother Doug was already in the Army. And my brother Joe joined later. But Brother Doug joined the Army when he was a young man. And, but up until that time, I hadn't planned to do anything other than farm. And I just enjoyed farming, being out in the country. And taking care of animals it was just my thing to do, and I loved it. But then after World War II, I came back home, and then I had to decide, well, what are you going to do? Well, I happened to meet the girl that I married, and she was a school teacher. And I had worked at different places to making a few dollars after World War II. No real training in anything except farming. She kept talking to me about, you sure would make a good school teacher. And she encouraged me. And then I went to Furman University and fixed out my test to get in. But Furman didn't much want me. I didn't do a great job on my entrance exam. So anyway, they finally let me enter on probation. I entered Furman University on probation. They said they'd give me the first semester, I would be on probation. If I failed more than one subject, I'd be kicked out of school. Well, I did fail one subject, but was fine, and they called me into the office and said, you're fine, you're good, you're not on probation anymore. And 4 years later, I graduated from Furman University with a BA degree in elementary education and started teaching school the next school term.
After you heard about the attack on Pearl Harbor, take me through how you ended up in the service.
Well, I think it was called, one thing was my two brothers already in. And I think, this is one reason I thought like this. I said, I can't let my two brothers be the two people that's from this family do all the fighting to protect this country and keep us safe. So I began to think about, when you're 18 years old, you're going to do something. I didn't even tell my mom and dad. So the day I turned 18 years old, I went to the recruiting station and joined the Navy the day I was 18 years old.
Why the Navy?
I wanted the Navy. I love ships. I didn't know much about them, but I thought it would be terrific to be in the Navy and on a beautiful ship. And that's exactly what happened. I had my basic training in Maryland. They came to Virginia, Norfolk, Virginia, where we received a lot more training, and they put us together as a ship's crew in Norfolk, Virginia. And after they got through training us there, on July the 4th, 1943, they sent us to Boston. In Boston Harbor, there sat a new destroyer. And on July the 4th, 1943, we went on board our new ship.
Talk to me about boot camp.
Boot camp was great. Boot camp was easier for me because I had done so much hard work on a farm and things like going through barbed wire fences, going over barbed wire fences, and crawling under barbed wire fences. I had been doing that for years, climbing trees, jumping out of trees into creeks and rivers, going swimming in creeks and rivers, and just all the hard work. Boot camp wasn't too difficult for me.
What was the most difficult part of boot camp for you?
Well, I guess the thing that I disliked about it most was, when you're growing up, you have a room at home. And the first thing I found myself in Bainbridge, Maryland, in a big building was about 200 men. And this, I was like, how in the world am I going to take this? You living with 200 men in one building, in one restroom, one big restroom. This is the thing that was the most difficult for me to get used to, was sleeping with large groups of men. And getting up early and trying to get everything done, and breakfast and restroom, shaving and everything, and be ready for boot camp out on the fields and the woods where we had to do boot camp. But I did boot camp fine. There was nothing wrong with it.
Take me through a typical day of boot camp.
Well, first place you had to get up about 5 o'clock. Then we lined up on the base on the big athletic field. We did calisthenics real early, and the chow hall, or the mess hall, was about 1/10 of a mile away. And then the instructor, this was still dark, and it said, it's breakfast time. Go to you've got to run to the mess hall. And then we took off to the mess hall. Then we came back. And, if we had time, we'd shave and get in the restroom and do those things. And then the rest of the day, we were always out climbing walls, going under fences, doing everything we needed to do. One of the best things you needed to do was be sure you could swim. And some days we had to go to a tower, and I guess maybe it was probably about 50 foot tall. It had a swimming pool, good-sized swimming pool, and you jump off into that swimming pool, and you had to swim around that pool 3 times to prove you could swim, and swim well. And you had to keep doing this. I did quite well with that. Some of them didn't. But some people didn't even want to jump off the 50-foot tower into the swimming pool because they'd never done something like this before. I go back to when I jumped out of trees into creeks, and but it was just a full day of doing things we were not accustomed to in some way. But I can say I fairly enjoyed boot camp.
After boot camp, what happens to you?
I came, we got a few days leave. I came home and then went back to Maryland, and that's when they sent us to Norfolk, Virginia for further training, and that's where they put together 484 men to go aboard this ship and operate that ship.
What ship?
USS Abilene, DD-733.
What kind of ship was it?
That was a destroyer. It was loaded with ammunition and men and plenty of guns and torpedoes and depth charges.
Can you take me through the different classifications of ships?
What, like a destroyer? I tell you, of course, in battles, we were there to do our part. But at other times, when we were traveling from one area to another, our destroyer might have been assigned to go alongside an aircraft carrier, just to make sure, if we heard a submarine, we would take care of that submarine. And but destroyers were assigned other duties to go alongside other ships and take care of them. Our main job from one place to the other was to take care of other ships, larger ships.
What's the biggest kind of destroyer?
Well, we were all, at that time, the year our ship was built, was the largest destroyer being built at that time. It was 300 feet long, forgot how wide, and I think I remember 280-something men on board, and we kept it as much as we could, loaded with ammunition and food. We always had good food, but and the first battle I was in was at Saipan. I don't remember much about it. went to Guam, which they had already taken, and there we got new ammunition, new food, and whatever we needed. And then we wondered, where are we going? And after we left there in a few days, well, we were told we were headed to Iwo Jima. And we were told on our way there that we would probably take that island in 3 days. Well, in 3 days, the Marines had only taken the southern part of that island. And on a Thursday morning, our ship was real close to land, close into the harbors. And we did not see the men climbing the volcano to put up the flag on Thursday. But they got on Thursday, they went up and put a small flag up, a small flag. Now, on Sunday morning, well, you should have been around that morning when we saw that American flag. I thought, we've already taken this island. We had just taken the southern part of it. All those Japs were in caves and behind cement doors. And on Sunday morning, those 5 Marines went back up Mount Suribachi at Volcano and put up a regular-sized American flag. This was a hoopla, gracious, and beautiful morning to see an American flag flying over a Japanese island. But it took us 30 days to take that island. Almost 7,000 Marines were killed at Iwo Jima. 17,000 were injured, and our ship got through it fine.
Talk to me about the support that your ship was providing to the Marines.
Oh,
what was your ship doing?
What they would inform us where a group of Japanese were hiding in a cave. Was maybe cement doors. And they say, now we're going to move away from this place, and they'd give us the exact location where to fire a gun sometime for 2 or 3 hours until we crashed in the cement doors. And those Japanese had to come out. And we were told we killed 22,000, all the ships. Therefore, we killed 22,000 Japanese on the island of Iwo Jima.
Describe to me how the gun crew works on a destroyer. Can you tell me about the different roles in the gun mount?
Well, as I say, I set the fuse on the weapon, and we had men. It took 4 men to load the guns. It took 2 men to load each gun. The powder keg come up and shoot, and then the bullet came up and shoot. And it took 4 of those men to do that. Then it took 2 men to lower and raise the guns up and down, right and left. And we had 1 man in that gun mount, and he kept it spotted where whatever they were shooting at, they knew exactly where to shoot. And he kept us informed. We had 1 man that was looking out of the gun mount and telling us if we were doing the job we were supposed to be doing. If not, we corrected everything and hit everything we were supposed to hit. Sometimes it would take 2 or 3 hours of firing those 2 guns. There were 3 of those gun mounts on that ship, and all 3 of us were firing at the same time. We were throwing a lot of ammunition on the shore of Iwo Jima and the other islands where we were fighting. The destroyer is a wonderful fighting vessel.
Now, you say your role was to what? What about the fuses?
Well, when the ammunition came up, the 5-inch shell came up a shaft, I was sitting right here with a machine, and I would set the seconds on that missile to explode at a certain time. And sometimes, if we were firing at cement hideaways the Japanese had on the island of Iwo Jima, I didn't have to set the fuse. We just fired, and it burst when it hit that. It hit. It didn't have to have a fuse set. But that's what I did all the time in that gun mount.
Under what kind of circumstances would you set a timed fuse?
When you're firing at airplanes, We had to set a fuse on them. Well, the plane may be 2 miles away, or it may be 5 miles away, or it may be just a few thousand feet from us.
When you're inside the gun mount, is there like a viewfinder where the men inside can see outside, or not at all?
Well, we had one man that could look out of the gun mount. That's all he did.
But from where you were?
No, he had a place in the back of the gun mount. He stood up on a platform and could see what we were doing, what we were hitting or not hitting, or saying you've got to do this or that to hit your target.
And then is there a person who literally pulls a trigger and it fires, or how?
Yeah, the man that put the missile in the gun, there was a handle right up here on top of the gun mount, and when the powder keg was in, the missile was in the gun, he hit a lever, and boom, and it fired. And I sat between those two guns all during the war, and that's why these two ears don't hear too well today.
What kind of protection did they give you?
None.
My understanding was that you guys had it was like what a tanker would wear, a helmet.
I had nothing.
Like a leather neck helmet.
I never had anything on my head.
Did anyone wear it?
Never.
Did anyone else?
No one on our ship. Never had one.
You never saw anyone with something?
No, not a one.
But how did you communicate with one another?
By talking loud enough.
You didn't have throat mics?
But it, like where I was sitting with doing what I was doing, is I had some headphones on, and they were telling me from the radio control room what to set the fuse on. But I did have earphones while I was in between those two guns, and we were firing those two guns.
Were your earphones plugged in or something?
What? Yes, oh yeah. But it went to the radio room.
How often would the gun fire?
Oh, sometimes we just, like in the Battle of Iwo Jima, or sometime, we might fire guns maybe for a solid hour, or 2 hours. Whatever it took to open a place where our Marines could get in and get rid of those Japanese soldiers. But I enjoyed hearing all those guns go off. You knew you were in a battle, and you were getting your job done.
What does it sound like when the gun goes off?
It's an awful roar. You can't imagine what it was like sitting between two 5-inch guns, and maybe sitting in there between those two guns sometime, and it was firing for an hour or 2 hours at a time.
Do you get used to the noise at a certain point?
What now?
Do you get used to the noise?
Oh, yeah. You didn't pay attention to it. All you was concerned about was you doing what your job was called to do and killing people. I've always told people about war, this is true, it's either kill or be killed. And we were ready to kill.
Now, how many escape corridors are there from this gun mount? Like how?
Two doors. Is all. One door on each side. And the day our ship was sunk, all 9 of us got out of that gun mount. I think it only took us seconds to get out. And all of us got in the water. And I still don't know if all the men on the gun mount lived. Because see, while we were in the water, and there were still 2 Jap planes out there, they were diving down on us, and they were dropping their bombs and strafing us while we were in the water. They were killing men all around me. I was just trying to stay out of the way. But it was awful to see some of the men killed while we were in the water.
How would they get killed?
The 2 jet planes that were left out there, they came right down over us, and they dropped their bombs on us in the water and strafed us while we were in the water swimming. We were just like ducks out there. We had no way to defend ourselves.
Did you actually see guys getting hit?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah. They had on gun belts, and some of them floated. And we picked them up later. And that night we had a service for them, put them in bags, put a weight on them, and put them over the side.
Did you know any of the men that were killed?
Oh, sure I did.
Do you remember any of their names?
Really don't. Right now I can't think of any. And
think about it and let me
know. One of my best friends was from North Carolina, and I think he was killed, but I cannot remember his name. See, that's been 73 years ago. I remember a lot of things, but I guess a few of them I don't quite remember. One of the men on my ship, he was injured real badly that day, and before I left to come home from Okinawa, they told us we could go to the hospital ship and see friends who had been hurt. So I went to see one of my best friends. His head was injured real badly. And I told him, I said, Raymond, I probably won't see you anymore. He said, well, I don't know about that. Now, I lived in Fountain Inn at this time. But 22 years later, Walker drove up my driveway. 22 years later, my friend.
Raymond Walker?
Raymond Walker. And he said, I said, Raymond, how in the world did you find me? He said, Thomason, he said, you told me several times you lived in Fountain Inn, South Carolina. And I told my wife one day, I'm going to find Fountain Inn, South Carolina. And sure enough, 22 years had passed, and he found me. He spent 3 days with us. And then I saw Raymond other times when we had ship reunions in different parts of the country. And I saw some of my other shipmates. And, but there was never but about 2 of us. I remember one of the men in my gunman his last name was Patton. We didn't call too many people by their last name. So Patton, and one day was at a reunion, I said, were any of you in Gunmount too? And there was Patton. I said, well, Patton, thank goodness. I know what you did at the gun mount, because you were the man that stood in the back of that gun mount and could see what we were doing. And if we were shooting at the airplane, you could tell us well, we've knocked it down, or you've missed it.
Where would you guys get all your ammunition from?
Well, if we needed ammunition, they would send a battleship to us or an aircraft carrier, and they'd transfer ammunition to us. Or you take, when we were at Guam, when we loaded the underneath part of our ship with ammunition, we didn't need much more ammunition. It lasted us for the rest of the World War II. And after we left Iwo Jima, we went to the Philippines and fought there. And
what do you remember about your time at the Philippines?
Well, I remember this. It was the largest assembly of ships that went to the Philippines. There were 300 ships of all kinds at the Battle of the Philippines. And that's when Okinawa was put back on the Philippines. I never did get to see General McConnell, but I know that we won the battle again, and they got to put him back on the Philippines. And but there were 300 ships. The largest assembly of ships in World War II were at the Philippines at that battle. When we left the Philippines, we came back to Okinawa. That was the last island we had to take. The invasion of Okinawa was very easily done. And the first day was just so easily done, but the second day, the men started getting killed. And the Japanese had no more ships, but they had plenty of airplanes. And they decided, instead of dropping the bombs on us, they would tell their pilots, dive your airplanes into the ships. Don't drop your bombs on them. Dive your plane into the ships. The first plane that hit us, it killed all the power on our ship. We couldn't do anything. No lights, no power, no nothing. We couldn't move or do anything. And then when the second one hit us, it was a Baka bomb. The Baka bomb that the Japanese had built we were the only ship that was sunk by a Baka bomb that the Japanese had built. And as I say, that day was terrible. But we, about 300 of us.
What was a Baka bomb?
It had a wingspan. It had a man on it. It was dropped from a bigger plane. It had no power. They just dropped it from a plane, and they would guide that bomb into ship. But our ship was the only one that was really hit by one of them. They only used it right at the end of the war. But it blew our ship all to pieces. In fact, it broke our ship into half. Half of our ship went down one way and the other half went down the other way.
And talk to me about your experiences. Where were you when your ship got hit?
Well, we got out of the gun mount very quickly. And then over the board into the water we went. And we know that's where your swimming came in. Because you were always told as a sailor, if your ship is sinking, you must swim away from the ship as fast as you can. If you don't get away from it, it will suck you in. While it is sinking, you'll go down with it. Now, I almost walked on water that day, but I did some fast swimming and got away from the ship. And most other men did. It was still that were not injured. But a lot of the men, like the men on the ship that operated the boilers, and they operated the ammunition rooms downstairs, down 2 or 3 decks down, they were the one that lost their lives. Most of those people were down in the ship somewhere, except a few men, those pilots killed by strafing it and dropping bombs on us. But when we got in the water, I thought, well, we're going to get killed anyway, it looks like. But we could see the plane coming at us. And when a plane gets in a dive like that, they don't change. So I was looking at them which way they were coming, and I swim away from that direction. And that's how I stayed away from those planes.
How often would you have to do that? A couple times or quite how many?
I probably had to do that about 4 times, I think, to stay out of the way of those planes. Because I say, I'm going to get shot right here in the ocean. Because they were strafing us, and it was scary. But I stayed calm during the whole time, but that's the time when you take care of yourself.
Did you have your life vest on?
I had on a life belt. It had gas in 2 little bottles, and after I got in the water, I pushed those 2 handles, and it blew up like a small inner tube. Because we couldn't wear those big life jackets in a gun mount. So we people in the gun mount had little belts on. The people on the outside in guns, they had the big gun mount, big life vests on.
So, once you get in the water, are you seeing hundreds of other sailors in the water among you?
Well, you see, you've been in the ocean, I'm sure, many times. And of course, the ocean that day was rolling, and when you went up on a wave, you look around, and you could see all your buddies who were still living. And we only got 1 life raft off of that ship that day. It sank so fast. But somebody was on that life raft that knew me, and they kept calling my name. And once in a while, I could see that life raft. So finally, I got to that life raft and held on to it.
How many men were on?
There was probably 15 or 20 of us holding on to it.
Say that again?
15 or 20 men was holding on to that life raft. But we only got 1 of them off. We didn't have time to get the others off. And of course, a ship was coming along at that time because other ships had heard our problem. And one ship began showing up, and they blew I looked up one time, and that ship shot one of those planes out of the air, and some of our planes got out there from an aircraft carrier, and they sent that other plane. They took off and flew back toward Japan, and probably one of our planes caught up with him and shot it down. So one of those planes that was bombing and strafing us was shot down by another ship that came to pick us up.
Why didn't those Japanese planes stay and continue strafing and
Well, there's nobody to shoot them down or anything. Our ship was gone.
I know, but why didn't they continue to stay?
Well, they wanted to kill us all in the water.
No, I'm saying why didn't they? Because they left. You know, you told me that there was about 20 of you near a life raft.
Yeah.
If the Japanese planes stayed, they could have just knocked you guys all out.
Well,
why would they leave?
One of them got, once our planes, because see, we had sent an SOS to send some planes out there, American planes. Now, once the American planes got out there, the P-38s, one of them had already been shot down, and the other plane had to get out of the way, because those P-38s were fixing to blow them all to pieces. So that got those two planes out of our way. So there's nothing left but all of us in the water and the ship picking us up. That ship got all of us picked up before it got dark that day. April the 5th. April the 12th, 1945.
Did you guys ever go off the coast of Okinawa?
Now say that again.
Were you ever off of the coast? Like, could you ever see Okinawa?
Oh, we were close to it.
I thought you said you were 75 miles away.
When we were sunk. But when we first got to Okinawa, we hit the invasion. And we were close.
What was the reason they had you go 75 miles away?
They wanted us to shoot down every airplane we could shoot down. Japanese airplanes. They had hundreds of them. They had thousands of airplanes. They had nothing else to fight with. So they put our destroyer out there, and every 50 miles apart, they put other destroyers. They wanted us to try to shoot down every plane that came over.
Did you guys shoot down any planes before?
Yes, we did. But, now listen, while our ship was sunk, our ship was not the only one sunk during this time. The Japanese, the way they ran into the ships with their planes, they sank 44 of our ships at Okinawa.
With kamikaze attacks?
Yes. 44 of our ships were sunk. We were one of them. But we were the only one that was sunk by a Baka bomb.
Were all of the ships sunk by kamikaze?
Yes, they were.
Not just dropping bombs, but kamikaze.
Right.
When did you first hear about kamikazes?
Well, I don't remember when we heard about them, but all of a sudden we knew, I guess some of the electricians on the ship might have heard about it, or who told them, or what, I don't know. But we knew then, some way, somehow, we got the word they were running their planes into the ships.
Before you guys were hit, you knew about the kamikaze.
Oh, yes, we did.
What did you think about Japanese pilots on a suicidal mission? What did you guys think about that? That these pilots were going to kill themselves just to kill Americans?
Well, you see, the Japanese were taught different from us. They knew and they were taught that it was such an honor to die in such a way, So they enjoyed dying, and they thought I don't know where they thought they were going, but they thought it was honor for their country. And most of the airline pilots that left Japan never returned. They either fell out of the skies, or they got shot down, or they ran into ships. All of those kamikaze pilots died on their own.
Can you talk to me about the oil, or talk to me about the struggles you faced when you were in the water after your ship sank?
The biggest thing we faced while I was in the water was there was so much oil that came out of our ship. We were swimming in water with at least 8 inches of oil. 8 inches of oil on the water. We were such a mess with oil, and some of us swallowed some of the oil that, and we got so sick. It was terrible. But it was terrible swimming in that water. But I think when that ship pulled up alongside the group of men I was with, and they had thrown that rope ladder over the side, and I got on the side of that ship and started climbing that rope ladder, and I got up on the top deck of that ship. And I was so tired, I just fell over backwards to rest for a little while. But it was a struggle swimming in that kind of water.
When your ship was off the coast of Okinawa, did you witness any other kamikaze attacks?
No, I did not. Did not. We were just one ship out there, 50 miles from somebody else.
No, I'm saying when you were close during the invasion.
No. When we first got to Okinawa, they had not started that. When we first arrived at Okinawa, they had not started that. They started that after we invaded Okinawa. Started running in ships.
So, talk to me about April 12th, though. Did you guys shoot down any planes before the ones?
No, we did not. It was a beautiful day, and got up. All of us ate breakfast together, fine, you know. Some of us at our gun stations because we had to be there. Ate lunch together, had a good time. But that afternoon, about 3 o'clock, we got the information that several airplanes were headed towards us. And so, you know, guns on a ship, they are to shoot up. They're not to shoot down. So these planes coming in right at the waterline, coming in and hit your ship at the waterline. And the Baka bomb hit our ship right at the waterline and parted our ship in two parts. It had 2,600 pounds of ammunition on it, and there was a pilot in it to guide it. It had a 12 or 17 foot wingspan, and it had so much ammunition. But I just think, you know, that when that Baka bomb, and that man was in that plane, and when it hit the ship, and 2,600 pounds of ammunition exploded, there was nothing left of that man. It must have been a terrible thing to die that way.
Well, what did it feel like where you were?
Well, I know the gun mount, I think I don't know what I hit, you know. But everybody in the gun mount, it seemed like all of us right in the middle all of a sudden when that thing hit our ship. And as I say, I hit something with my head, my elbow, but none of us really got hurt when the thing hit our ship because it hit way back midway. We were way up front on our ship. But it just tore our ship all to pieces, and when it hit, it stopped everything. But we got out of that gun mount in a hurry. Thank goodness it did close. It did fix our ship where the doors wouldn't open on that gun mount. The doors opened right up. We got out right quickly.
You mentioned, sir, that a kamikaze hit before?
Yeah, the first one.
What was the time gap between the kamikaze?
Probably 10 or 15 minutes.
Where did the kamikaze hit?
He hit just above the waterline, a little bit higher up.
But where on the ship?
He didn't come in right at the waterline. He came a little bit higher, and he hit just above the top deck on the ship. Top deck.
What do you remember about that? You know, you must have felt that.
Not much.
Really?
It was far enough back. I didn't feel the first one much. All we knew, a plane had hit, and we were told our ship couldn't move. Our ship could not move anymore, and we knew then we were in trouble because we knew there's planes still up there, and it's trying to come down and hit us. And when that Baka bomb hit us, it was all over.
Did you guys, from where you were, you couldn't see the planes above, could you?
No, we could not see anything.
What's that like? You're blinded basically, and you know that there's the enemy above, and they can What's that like, not knowing what's going to happen?
You're just hoping it's the planes you're shooting at, and all the gunmen on the outside shooting the 40 millimeter guns, the 20 millimeter gun, were shooting those planes down. That's all we were hoping for. We could not see that. Only the man standing in the back of the gun mount could see it. But we were blind the whole time.
The man standing in the back of the gun mount, what is his position called?
What was it called? I forgot what it was called. All he did was watch out for us, and he could tell we men, you're missing that plane. You need to shoot higher, lower, or whatever, And he kept us informed of what he saw that was going on.
What millimeter was your gun mount?
5-inch.
Oh, so it was a 5-inch.
Yeah.
Is that the biggest?
Yeah, that was the biggest missile we had, 5 inches.
And did you guys only use one kind of shell or different kinds?
No, we only could use the one type in our 5-inch gun. We could shoot down a plane at 5 miles away. And, of course, close.
Was your gun mount credited with knocking down any planes?
We did, they never did say it.
But was your ship credited with knocking down?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Do you have an idea how many?
I have no idea. I really don't.
Do you remember any particular incidents where you guys knew that a plane had been...
Well, I know then that day, one of the planes that was going to run into us, we did shoot down one of those planes that day. The day we got sunk, we got one of the planes before the others ran into us.
Now, back then, there was no sort of tracking technology that would track the plane, and then... It had to be all manual?
It was all manual.
I thought that towards the end of the war, there was a technology that would be used in the gun mounts.
Yeah.
And it would it would follow the plane. It would track the plane and move the gun.
No,
and then fire.
We had no automatic stuff. Those guns were handled manually and fired manually.
And no radar?
No radar.
Did ships like yours also have anti-aircraft guns? They must have, right?
We had 40 millimeter guns and 20 millimeter guns, if that's what you're talking about.
I'm talking about it's almost like an open gun.
The 40 millimeter guns were open guns.
Okay.
20 millimeters were open guns. The torpedoes were open. The depth charges were open. The people in the gun mounts were the only people inside the gun mount. Everybody else could see what was going on.
Why was the 5-inch gun required to be enclosed?
That I can't remember. I really don't know. I never did ask, but they were enclosed, and in a way I was glad they were, because they were metal, and if they were firing, the planes just firing their guns at us, they would not come through the gun mount. Those gun mounts would shield us.
All right,
So we felt pretty safe in the gun mount.
We're almost through. What life advice do you want to give to future generations?
What now? What?
What life advice do you want to give to future generations?
Well, do the best you can in this life. Don't worry about things. You've got to live and be the best you can, and come to understand what life is all about. My thinking is to tell people, enjoy your life, and when you do have problems, solve those problems as quick as you can. Sometimes they might not want, well, I don't want any help. Folks, sometimes you need help, and if you do, get it. But for my life, yes, I've had to have some help. But thank goodness the Lord has taken care of me well, and I have done so well in life, and I've been happy in life. And all these latter years, if something happens that's not good, okay. So it happens, something something today happened that was bad, but tomorrow it's going to be better. So I like to live and be happy and tell others. Mainly, I try to live the kind of life all the people that see me and tell me, that how in the world do I keep going like I do and enjoy life like you do? I said, this is the way I live, and I'm happy with it and love it.
If you were to give me some wisdom for my life, what would you tell me?
I would say, listen, pay attention to yourself. What you think and what you believe, live by it. And if it's not what you like, you find something that you can trust and love and do it. And I also tell you, don't listen to too many other people too much. You want to do what you want to do. And if you're not doing it to the best of your ability, start doing it to the best you can. Don't mess around. Evidently, you're doing a good job of what you're doing.
Thank you. Were you afraid of dying during the war?
No. I guess the only thing I was afraid of, even today, is, we don't have a fear of dying. It's what we have to go through to die. That's what we fear. It's what we have to go through to die. Even then and now, you see.
Are you afraid of dying now?
No. But I think about, because you see, in the last 2 years, I have been diagnosed with this liver problem, and right now I have pancreatic cancer. Doesn't it bother me? If it bothered me, I'd have told you can't come. I'm sad. I got too much wrong with me.
You have pancreatic cancer?
Yes.
What stage?
They didn't tell me what stage. It's there. It's sort of right on the front of my pancreas. And the last time they checked it and looked at it, it had not moved, it had not grown, and all it was doing was putting out a few cancer cells. But you see, tomorrow, it could kill me.
No, let's not think like that.
No, I know it. And I get up every morning, my wife, we live happily and joyously, and the things that take place, we enjoy life. We don't let things get us down.
What do you believe happens after someone dies?
Well, I know I'm going to heaven. I know that. I've been a Christian since I was about 80 years old. And I know exactly what will happen to me. And the moment I pass away, the next moment, I'll be in heaven.
What were you before you were 80?
Well, I knew about Christ. I had a good Christian mom and daddy. And I learned how to live. They taught us the right morals. They taught us the right values. And they taught us about Jesus Christ. My mom and daddy never said to you, David, it's time you accepted Christ. They didn't say that to us. They knew we would either do it on our own or we would not do it. So one morning when I was 12 years old, my mom and I was in the kitchen. It was Sunday morning. I said, Mom, I'm going to give my life to Christ today. And I was 80, probably about 80 years old, 82 or something like that.
Were you 12 or 82?
I was about 12 years old, and I've been that way ever since I was about 12 years old. Living for Christ. Now, as usual, all of us, we make mistakes. But you see, we have Jesus Christ to go to and say, Lord, now listen, I live for you 100% today. And you love me so much, and you've told me over and over in your word, you forgive us of our sins. So every night before I go to sleep, I talk to Jesus Christ about thanking him for saving my soul. And today, what I've done wrong, forgive me. So my soul's clean again.
What would you say to someone who's afraid of dying?
Afraid of dying? Evidently, if somebody was like that, they may not know Jesus Christ, and I would have to sit and talk with them to get out of them. Why are you fearing to die?
I'm afraid of dying.
Well, anybody your age, mostly. But
No, but that a lot of the veterans say that. But I think even if I was your age, I don't want to die.
no, none of us want to die. I know that. You know, and like in the morning when I get up and I say, well, I made it through the night. I'm fine today. I feel good again today. And but I know also I might die today.
Doesn't that freak you out?
No. None. Because I know where I'm going. I'll join my first wife. When she dies, she'll join her first husband, and we'll be up there together. The good part is where you're going. Because the life we got now is nothing compared to heaven, you know, if you read your Bible. If you don't, you need to.
I have one here.
Okay. And I've been teaching Sunday school Bible classes for over 60 years. And love it. Teaching God's Word.
Wait, before we move on, I just want to clarify something. Did you give your life to Christ when you were 80 or 12?
I'm 12.
So where does 80 come into this?
That's where I've been a Christian that long. I've been a Christian for more than 80 years.
Oh,
Now you got it straight.
I thought you meant you were 80 years old.
No, I was saved when I was about 12, and that's been a Christian now for well over 80 years.
But when you say you got saved, what does that mean?
It means that I gave my life to Christ, and I would live with Him and ask Him for His Holy Spirit to guide and direct my life.
Is that just, did you have to go through a process at
No,
church?
sir. No.
You just said that you would.
I know that, and then the preacher talked with me. You know, at that age, he wanted me to make sure I knew what I was doing and who I was accepting and how much I knew about Christ. So I was able to tell him whatever, you know.
What kind of person do you want to be remembered as, Mr. Thompson?
I guess most people I hope will say he was a good man. If that's said about you, that's a wonderful thing. He was a good man. He was a good man. He was a man that was good to know because he understood other people and could talk to them about anything they want to talk to. I love to talk to people that's having any difficulties or trouble. And but, you know, it's wonderful to live as a Christian. Study your Bible, keep reading, keep studying, keep doing for Christ.
But after you pass, your friends and your family, when they think of you, what kind of person do you want them to think of you as?
Well, if they think, what I hope for them to say is this: I know he was a good Christian man because he lived what he said. He walked the walk and he talked the talk. He did and lived the way he believed, and he showed people what he believed. He did what he believed. And that's the way I like to tell others, you know. You don't have to struggle in life. Because, listen, with Jesus Christ, he'll give you all the answers, you know. You don't have to go around wondering. And Christ says, I am with you all the time. If Christ is with me all day today, you know, what have I got to worry about?
What would you want to say to all the men who were killed overseas in World War II?
Oh, what I would say to them?
Or what would you want them to know?
I would want them to know, or on the ship I was on, I thought, I'm not the only Christian on this ship. So I worked to find some other Christians on the ship. And if I could see all of them again, I think I would say, fellas, if you're not a Christian, we in war, and some of us are going to die. We're not going to live through this. And if you're not a Christian, you need to become a Christian today, you know. And if you do, and you get killed, like that day when our ship was sunk and me out there, and I thought, if one of those bullets hits me and kills me, the next second, where would I be? I'd be in heaven. Most beautiful place and the most wonderful place in the whole wide world. It's up there waiting for us. No doubt about it.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank
Yes,
you for
sir.
your wisdom.
I appreciate you coming.
Sir, some of the notes I had on your ship mentioned that during the Iwo Jima operation, your ship would help illuminate the island at night.
Oh, yes.
Can you tell me about that, please?
Okay, at night, we had to sit in the gun mount all night long, and every 3 minutes, we would fire a star shell. A star shell would go so high in the air that when it started falling, it would be just like, it lit the place up like it was daytime on that island. And we had to hire one of those star shells every 3 minutes. We did that because the men needed to fight at night. And with these star shells, they could see what they were doing and knew where they were going. But I kept thinking, sitting in that gun mount, we were firing and sitting there in that gun mount, and we were safe. But we were firing it so those Marines could see where they were going, and I'm sure some of them were killed that night. You know, any one night we was firing star shells. Because you take nearly 7,000 Marines killed, it just happened all the time.
But how would it float down?
It had a parachute. The missile that we fired had a parachute on it.
And would you shoot it over the island, or you shot it straight up?
We just shoot it right up over the island, right up over Iwo Jima.
Did you? How long would you guys do this for? Like an hour?
What now?
How long would you be shooting these flares up?
We had to do it all night long.
You must have gone through hundreds.
Oh, absolutely. But it was fun, you know, fire one and look out and watch it open up and float down.
I thought you couldn't see outside.
We opened the door. You know, when we'd fire one, I say, I want to look at it.
Did you ever open the door when the plane...
Yes, I did. And one day at Iwo Jima, I could see, we were so close to the shore, I saw 2 Japanese setting up a machine gun. So I just watched them running through the bushes and setting up a machine gun. You know what they did by that machine gun? I saw the bullets coming across the water. And one of them missed my head about that much. Almost one of those machine gun bullets hit me. I had my head sticking out of the gun mount. But you know what I did? I got back in the gun mount right quick and closed the door. Because the gun, they were shooting and hitting the gun mount. It wasn't doing any damage.
How close was your ship to the shore?
Oh, God, like from here, like where you turn left up there to come down to this house. Oh, we were close. Very close.
People could swim from your ship to the shore?
Yes, I could. Oh, yes, I could.
Did you guys stay that close during the entire...
I love staying that close.
No, did you stay that close during the entire operation?
No. Some days you were further out.
Were there other ships that were that close?
Yes, they were. Ships all around the place. There must have been 150 ships at Iwo Jima.
Were there other times that you guys took on fire?
Not really.
The Japanese fired their machine gun.
No, that was the only place that I remember. But the other places, no.
Did you ever stick your head out of the door when the Japanese planes were coming in?
No. We kept those doors closed. But sometimes when you were sitting off the coast like that, they say, well, we might not have to do any firing for a couple of hours or 3 hours. So you just open the doors, get out on the deck, and see what's going on. And I loved it.
When the ship you were on sunk, what belongings did you lose?
Everything. I had nothing. I had nothing left.
But what did you have on the ship that was yours?
I did not have much because, see, sailors, you're not in port very much during war to buy anything. About the only place we stopped off in Panama for a little while. In other places, Tripoli, South America, and around. And then what I did have, But there's one thing I lost. It was my Bible. I remember, I had my Bible on the ship, and I read my Bible almost every day. And I thought, the Bible that my mother and dad gave me when I went to the Navy is on the bottom of these China Sea. So I did have my clothes and, but I had very little to go down with that ship.
And your daughter, she told me, you told me about how you guys didn't have any clothes and you were all naked.
Yeah.
Were you all naked at the same time?
Yes, we were.
Completely?
Completely.
But she also mentioned that you guys got diarrhea. Is that
true? That's for swallowing oil. Some of we men swallowed some of that oil.
Did you?
Oh, yes. And I tell you what's the truth, I couldn't eat a thing. I could take a glass of water like that and stand up and drink it and stand there and it would come straight through me. That's how bad the diarrhea was.
Really?
Yes. I didn't have to wait or anything. I stood there and drank it, and it came right through me. That's how bad I think I was.
The oil just what? It slicked up your insides or
yes.
something?
And oil was on the inside of us.
How did you guys get it out?
They gave us some kind of something to stop our diarrhea. Finally found something to give us that the diarrhea stopped, or we would have died. Diarrhea.
Did anyone die once they were on the ship?
I don't think so. I don't recall it if anyone died. I don't think anyone did.
So, you mentioned, okay, did you jump into the water or did you get into the water once the ship was sinking?
The ship was sinking when I jumped off of it.
How high did you have to jump?
Probably 10 or 12 feet.
Sir, what do you remember about the underwater demolition team operations that used your ship as a base? Do you remember anything about that? The Frogmen?
Well, all I knew that back in those days, we had, just like we have today, and like before we got to Iwo Jima, before we got to Okinawa, a place like that, these seamen had already been down and destroyed all the bombs that was in the harbor or the nets that were in the harbor. So they had the harbors clear of all materials that would hinder us from getting close to the shore. So that's what the underseamen did, and we appreciated them. Because going into a harbor, we knew we were not going to hit some bomb or something, or an undersea explosion.
But did you interact with any of the men?
No.
But do you know, were they on your ship when they jumped in the water? I mean, did they?
No, they were on other ships.
Okay.
We did not have any on our ship.
What was a radar picket patrol?
Radar picket patrol is you had radio equipment on your plane where the other ships at a far distance could not find you. Picket duty. It kept people from finding you. Didn't stop airplanes from finding you. It helped other ships not to find you.
During general quarters, what would happen? I mean, would an alarm sound? Or?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Alarm sounded and everybody heard it, and away you went. And you really moved. You didn't walk. You ran every time. When the GQ sounded, we got to our stations as quick as possible. In a hurry.
Now, when the kamikaze hit, sir, is that when the electricity went out or when the Baka bomb hit?
The first plane it hit knocked all our power out.
Did that mean...
The first bomb.
Did the kamikaze?
Yes, uh-huh.
Does that mean the 5-inch gun was not usable without electricity, or could it still be
After
used?
he hit, it was all over for us. We could do nothing. We could do nothing once the first plane hit us.
So the electricity was necessary to use the 5-inch.
Exactly.
Is that the same with the 40 millimeter?
Yes. Yes. Electrically operated.
So how does a ship defend itself
We didn't.
if its power is cut out?
Well, we couldn't.
Not at all.
We were just sitting out there. Like we sitting here, don't have a gun. We were sitting there not able to do anything. Scare you to death.
Do you happen to remember the name of the man who died now in North
Not
Carolina?
yet. No.
Maybe it might.
By tomorrow.
I guarantee that 10 minutes after I leave, it's gonna hit you.
Oh yeah.
That's how it works.
Well, I knew a lot of the men on the ship, but the names are pretty well gone.
Did you know a man named Roy Anderson?
Yeah,
Did you know him on the ship or after?
on the ship. He was an electrician.
Did you see some of the Indianapolis? You know about the Indianapolis?
Yeah?
I've interviewed some of those survivors, and they talked to me that sometimes the men in the water, they wouldn't help one another. It was all about survival,
Well, see, when you were taught this in the Navy, if you're sinking the ship, the captain will come over the loudspeaker and say, "All men overboard. All men for themselves." Did you catch that now?
All men for themselves.
Right. That simply means what? You don't have to do anything for anybody except yourself. You can if you want to, but you've been told overboard, every man for himself.
Did you hear your captain say this?
Yes, sir.
Did your captain survive?
Yes, he did, but he's passed away since in about the last 5 years, about 5 years ago.
When you jumped in the water and you swam from the ship, did you get a chance to see the ship go down?
Yes.
What did it look like?
Well, I'm sure you've seen pictures, That's what it looked like.
Like what?
It was gone. You saw it as it disappeared. And then and all of a sudden you thought, everything I have is gone. People say today, I don't have anything. I know what it's like to be not have a nickel or a penny, not have any clothes, or not have any food. I had nothing. But I was taken care of later. But that day, I had nothing.
Do you have an estimate from the time that the first kamikaze hit to the time that you were in the water? How long do you think that was?
When the first one hit until the second one hit and I went in the water, probably somewhere around 15 to 20 minutes.
And when you got in the water, what was that like? I mean, was it surreal or
It was as real as it could be, but I knew only one thing to do, that was swim, swim, swim. You better swim in a hurry, as strong as you can, and get away from that ship as far as you can. And I did.
Were you confident that you guys were going to get picked up?
Do what?
Were you confident that you all were going to get
rescued?
rescued?
Yeah, I knew we'd get picked up. With all the ships we had in Okinawa, probably 200, I knew one of them would get out there for us.
But was there a time where after your ship sunk, did you see absolutely nothing on the horizon? Was there a time that you saw...
Couldn't see a thing.
It was just water.
It's gone. Nothing but water.
What's that like?
Well, you sort of feel alone, I'm here, but all these other people out there. But it's one thing for sure, you've got to take care of yourself. You could give up and go down. You could drown easily. Have you ever been swimming with your shoes on and all your clothes on? Try it sometime and see how you can stay up. Because even with that life belt on, I would have sunk down and drowned if I hadn't kept swimming. Because with all of your clothes on and shoes, I was too heavy,
Did you I mean, you talked to me that you said you saw when the Japanese planes came over the survivors.
Yeah.
And strafed. You saw guys getting hit.
Yes.
Are we talking about a few or a lot?
There's probably 10 or 15 killed while we were out there. And somebody told me, I didn't see it, but our head cook on the ship, somebody told me one of the bombs that was dropped from one of those planes hit our head cook wide open, blew him into 1,000 pieces. I don't know if that happened or not.
You didn't see that though.
But somebody told me it did.
Was everyone screaming when the planes were strafing?
Not really. I never did hear anybody holler. Never did.
Was it just quiet? I mean,
it's quiet.
Even when planes are coming and shooting?
Yeah. Well, what you were doing is swimming, trying to get out of the way.
When the planes were strafing you guys in the water, were you guys clumped together or you were all pretty spread?
Scattered. I wanted to be away from people. If I'd have been right out there in the middle where most of the people were, I'd have got hit by a bullet or a bomb.
But I know that the way the water works, did you end up getting close to any of the men that had been killed, like physically?
Yeah, I was, and I was on the ship when we were moving around, picking up the dead men.
On the rescue ship?
Yeah, the ship had picked us up. We had to pick up these dead men.
How would you do that from the top of the ship?
All we had to do was a hook.
Did you do that?
I didn't. I watched it done. I just watched them pick them up.
Did you see any men providing first aid to other men in the water?
I really didn't see it so much, but I do know that one of the men, I don't know what he did on the ship, but his leg was blown off except the skin was holding. And I know that the doctor cut the rest of his leg off while he was out in the water. And the boy died the next day.
Wait, say that again?
The doctor, one of the men, had his leg shot off right here. And from there down, the only thing holding it was some skin. The doctor on the ship finished cutting his leg off and turned it loose, But then the next day that man died because he lost so much blood.
Did you know him well?
I knew him quite well.
Was he the one from North Carolina?
Oh, I don't know where he's from. I don't remember. I sure don't. But I still remember a good many things about World War II. And there's a few things I know.
What do you remember about the burial at sea?
Well, I remember we put them in a real thick canvas bags. Zipped them up good or tied them up good, and then tied a weight onto that bag and dropped them over the side.
And these were the men, all the dead that were in the water were killed from the strafing, or did some of them, do you think, came up from the sinking of the ship?
No, they were killed by the planes over us. They were out there swimming just like me.
Oh, okay.
And these planes coming down strafing and bombing killed them. Got rid of them.
And when you say the Japanese would drop bombs,
yeah,
with the bombs, usually bombs burst when they hit a hard thing.
Yes, but they'll also bomb when you hit the water. And you see, now if you know anything about water down so many feet, what happens to a bomb? The pressure is so strong it makes it explode. The ship I was on, when it went to sinking, it didn't go to the ground right then. It didn't hit the bottom of the ocean right then. It might have gone 50 miles somewhere before it hit the bottom. It gets down so far, the pressure is equalized, you see.
Did any of the bomb blasts get near you?
Any what?
Did any of the bomb blasts in the water get near you?
No.
Did you think anyone was killed from the bombs?
Yes, yeah. I'm sure they were.
Or like you said, the cook.
I don't know. I wasn't there to see it, but I'm sure they were killed by it.
And all the men who were killed, though, in the water, they float, or did some of them sink?
No, they floated.
Everyone.
Because they had that big life jackets on. And those life jackets held them up.
How would they identify the men?
Well, I didn't see any of the men that picked up that you could not recognize. Some of them, their legs were blown off or partly blown off. Their arms were blown off. They were all beat up, shot all to pieces. But you could recognize them. And for weeks and weeks, my mom and dad did not know whether I was dead or alive.
What was that like coming home?
Oh, it was exciting. But they didn't know until I got to California that I was alive. Because, see, no information went out back in those days. If you and I, if you understand, and if we got killed today, our parents would know it today.
They'd probably know before we were killed.
Yeah, but you see, back in those days, military didn't put out any information. If a ship was sunk, it was a good while before anybody knew it.
And just tell me, how long were you in the water?
About 4 hours.
All in the daytime?
All in the daytime.
How hot did it get?
It was hot in the South Pacific.
Any sharks?
I did not see any. Some of the other fellows said they saw sharks. I did not see any sharks.
Did you get tired of swimming? I mean, but that's why you
yes,
went on to the
yeah,
lifeguard.
you get tired, but at a time like that, you better not get tired enough that you have to quit. You got to keep swimming. You got to keep doing it.
How long were you swimming before you got to that life raft?
Probably 2 hours.
Of straight swimming?
Yeah.
Treading water?
Well, just sort of treading and staying above, and not sinking.
I can't tread water.
Well, if you had on a little life belt, you could. It was sort of holding you up, and it wasn't so difficult. It's not like you're really fighting the water. You're just sort of taking it easy and floating on.
Do you think that they recovered all of the men who survived the sinking? I mean, because the ocean's a big area.
Yeah.
Some guys could have got spread real far.
No, we didn't get that far spread. We all pretty much stayed in one area.
But how did the ships that rescued you, how could they see these little guys in the water?
I don't know, but they saw them. They saw them all. They got them all.
I mean, did you guys set off a flare or something so that they could see where you were? Or
No, they just kept going around and around and around. And see, we weren't in an area, and we weren't spread out in all that big an area.
But there was no land close to you. It was
all no.
Water.
We close to land was probably 75 miles.
Was it cold or warm water?
Warm water.
So it was like a bath.
Well, it was in the South Pacific, man.
With a little bit of oil.
Oh, man. Oh.
How long did you keep finding oil stuff on you?
I don't know. I didn't find. Well, you see, when that man and we took a shower and I put on clean clothes, the oil was gone.
You didn't smell it or anything?
I took a good shower and got rid of it. Only all of it was on the inside of me, making me sick.
Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for your...
I could talk all day about some of those things.
Oh,
But then the bottom line is who took care of me that day?
The big man upstairs.
Yeah, exactly.